Now, ITV News can reveal the details of welfare cuts of more than £6 billion a year. £5 billion will come from making it harder to qualify for those personal independence payments.
PIP exists because life costs more if you're disabled. Those costs won't magically disappear just because the government decides to squeeze eligibility. Disabled people already face a disproportionately high risk of poverty. Nearly half of those in poverty are either disabled or living in a household with a disabled person. Just think about that. This plan, if implemented, will push even more disabled people into poverty, not into jobs. Is that really what we want?
You can talk in big numbers all you like. This is going to hit some of the most vulnerable people in the country. It was actually too much, as you mentioned, for the Conservative government to go after personal independence payments. Rishi Sunak considered means testing them, but I saw advice from his officials telling him to step back from the brink, that, that this would take important aids from up to 1 million disabled people, that would be terrible optics.
The personal independence payment is not an out-of-work benefit. It's a non-means tested benefit for people who have a long-term health condition or disability. It's meant to help people with the additional costs of their disability. It helps to fund wheelchairs, home adaptations and travel costs, the kind of things that make living and working possible for people with disabilities.
The same benefit, known as PIP, will be frozen next year, according to sources.
Freezing PIP next year will result in a real terms income loss for around 4 million people, 70% of whom are in low to middle income households.
Those on universal credit who are actively looking for a job will see their payments rise, but there will be a significant cut for those judged too ill or disabled to work.
Just listen to that again.
There will be a significant cut for those judged too ill or disabled to work.
That's completely insane. Hunger and hardship are already at record levels. Almost 1 in 5 people receiving universal credit and disability benefits used a food bank in the last month. Almost 1 in 5. People are already desperate and at breaking point. Cutting welfare and disability benefits, which are already not enough to live on, will simply drive more people into poverty.
Charities have branded the move catastrophic.
More than 3/4 of people claiming universal credit and disability benefits have gone without essentials in the last 6 months. Just over 4 in 10 have skipped meals to keep up with other essential costs in the last 3 months. More than a third say they've not been able to keep their home warm enough this winter. And if all that's not bad enough, 1/4 of people claiming universal credit and disability benefits have been unable to afford pain relief or other over-the-counter medication in the last 3 months.
Cuts to universal credit means that even those with the most severe disabilities may lose money.
Balancing the books can't come at the expense of people already having to survive on incredibly low incomes and people with physical and mental ill health conditions. These cuts will damage the living standards of some of the poorest and most vulnerable people in our society. Is that really what we want? Yes, the Chancellor has an unenviable task, but she does have choices. The need to balance the books shouldn't be passed on to those who can least afford it.
They're going to be plunged into so much poverty. A lot of people are barely managing. Some people are they're self-harming as a result of the consistent news that's coming out saying that they're going to make these cuts.
The Labour government should be taking action to reduce hunger and hardship by investing in social security, not focusing on short-term cuts that would just push more and more people deeper into poverty and hunger and hardship.
I've no doubt, as there always have been, are people who shouldn't be on those benefits, who are taking the mickey.
The latest shocking data has shown more than 16 million people are now living in poverty in the UK. More than 16 million. It's a staggering 24% of the UK population. Just think about that. And children have accounted for the biggest rise of any social group falling into poverty. We now have a record 5.2 million children living in deprivation. You heard that right, 5.2 million children. In a country as wealthy as ours, it's absolutely shameful, and every day it gets worse. 1 million adults can no longer afford to eat every day. 9 million are skipping meals and cutting back on food. We've even seen GPs prescribing nutritional drinks to starving patients, and thousands being hospitalised with malnutrition. And the government's latest plan will make things even more dire.
There are a number of Labour MPs who came into politics to support those people. So there are some real worries that I'm hearing from those MPs. Clive Efford, who chairs the Tribune group of soft left MPs, has said if people are worried about the scale of these cuts, they need to be lobbying the leadership now, because when we get the budget, it will be too late.
We know in our hearts this plan just isn't right. What we need is an essentials guarantee in universal credit, so the basic rate at least covers the cost of life's essentials. If you're concerned about these planned cuts, please contact your MP now and ask them not to support this appalling plan. Now is the time to lobby the government to step back from this.